Movies and Martinis celebrates women and diversity in the entertainment world
by ranking trending movies, shows, and books
with two completely different perspectives and ranked by delicious martinis.
Listen to find out how many martinis we felt it was worth.
And learn about the women who have written, performed, and/or directed in everything we have rated.
A new episode is available every Thursday on your favorite podcast platform and YouTube. What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy. Welcome. And this is a special edition of our Books and Martini podcast. Today we welcome Priya. Take it away.
Harper Glenn, the author of Monarch Rising. And we're so excited to have you today. Welcome, Harper.
Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Now, this is Books and Martinis, and usually we have martinis, but because we're recording early, everyone, we got coffees.
I have water.
Cheers.
I have sparkling water. I don't drink
water.
coffee.
Oh, I need to do that. I want to start doing that. Lemon water in the morning.
Yes. Okay. So let's kick this off. Go ahead, Mercy. Go ahead.
Just wanted to ask you, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I'm from Georgia, born and raised. Yeah, I'm a writer, and now I live in Washington State.
What inspired you to write?
Life. I grew up very poor and made up stories about places I would go and things I would do to cousins who were more well off. So I guess my path to writing started with me lying about my poor childhood, and so wanting to escape it.
Wow. So that's what inspired you to write Monarch Rising? Because
semi.
there's a lot in this book, and then
at
the end of it, when you read the author's note, you see how much you poured into it. Of your upbringing. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. I grew up in the projects in East Georgia. Grew up really poor. We couldn't afford to even go to the 50-cent swimming pool, but we could. But back then it was like food stamps, and we had food stamps, and so who's didn't take food stamps, they took coins, and so we couldn't go. So we would literally went with a lot without potato chip sandwiches, mayo sandwiches, all of that kind of stuff. And I can smile about it now because then, and I smiled about it then too. I think when you're poor, you don't know you're poor. You just know you're living, or at least that was my experience. You know, I knew we didn't have a lot, but I was still semi-happy.
And, I wanted to point out right away before I started reading this book about Jo's story, even the caption, the quote you have on the front really struck me. Because it's not just, you're equating it sort of like to Hunger Games, and the story is very much like that, like dystopian, like almost post-apocalyptic, like what would happen if, and the quote is, it's by New York Times bestselling author Beth Revis, and it's a darker Hunger Games for today's teens who know that trauma cannot be erased by a kiss.
Beth bless her.
I thought that was so striking right away. I was just like, okay, I really know what to expect now. It's not just going to be like some relationship that's created in all this mess and, and they fall in love. It's much more than that. It's much more about the experience of the characters and like how they're living. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book?
Yeah. I could tell you what the log line is, and I can tell you a little bit the background of why I wrote it, if that's
yes, as long as we don't spoil it for all the
No, I won't
readers.
Spoil it. I won't spoil it. Beth, thank gosh for Beth. She is an amazing person, amazing writer, and over the past, 7 years or so since I've been knowing her, she's become a really cool friend. So hats off to Beth. But logline is a boy raised to fear love meets a girl who was raised to crave love in a world separated by class.
Whoa.
I had a dream, and I think, I always kind of, it's cliche, when I say, I had a dream, and then the book came, but it really was true for Monarch. So I had a dream with this girl. She was walking towards a bridge, and at the bridge, there was this boy there waiting for her. And he was telling her to go back. You can't come across the bridge. She was like, why? And then he said, they'll hang you if they catch you. And then I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out who's across the bridge, who wants to hang her, what are they trying to do with her, who is this guy, why is he trying to warn her, and what was this place that she was trying to get to, and what was this place she was coming from. And a lot of Monarch, capitalized on my marriage. I was married for 10 years, and I said, how do you go from being in an interracial relationship to never being in one, and that experience and what the family dynamics were like? I was also going through a space and time where I was, basically coming out as non-binary. So being Jo, I got to be Jo, who was little girl Harper before I got married. And then Cove was like, in my mind, non-binary Harper after I got
Oh,
married. So it's
I
like
love
before
that.
and after
Oh,
love, right?
Interesting.
Optimistic and then like, oh, love sucks. Kind of
And you look so
literally.
young. So to have been married you look so young to have been married for 15 years.
Yeah, I was married for 10 years.
10 years, 10 years.
That was 10 years ago. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow. So even more.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
how long did it take you to write the book?
Mm,
From the dream to the day you published? Tell us about that
Monarch.
transition.
Okay, yeah, Monarch took me 3 months to write from start to finish. Maybe even a little under 3 months. And then
Wow.
I know it was, and that is the first and last time that it's ever taken me that short of a time to write a book. So I feel
Wow.
like that was like my miracle, baby. So and then I did a quick rough draft. I mean, a quick revision pass. Basically, I just kind of like ran it through the regular spell check, and then I said, okay. I gave it to one or two friends to read, and I was like, okay, you know what? Fuck it. Can we curse here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
can.
Okay. All right. I was like, forget it. I'm gonna go ahead and query. And then I stopped it, and a friend told me, Harper, if you're thinking of querying, just go ahead and do it. You pretty much write clean drafts. It's like, you all right, I'll load it. So I did it. And then 6 months after I typed the in, I had an agent, and then
Wow.
but it took me a long time to find an agent. I wrote many books that got many no's and a lot of those things. And then I think it was like a year and a half or a year and a half, close to 2 years for my agent. Then it's so in a preempt deal with Scholastic. So
Wow.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. That's
Yeah,
huge.
thanks.
That is
that's like,
huge. There are so many that don't even get there.
yeah, that is so
Yeah, yeah.
inspiring.
Well, and even when you do get there, you still when it comes to that second book, the whole thing is all over again. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for you to do it so quickly and just, it's kind of like the energy was behind you,
Yeah.
you had
It
the
was meant to
momentum
be.
going. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
Meant
so
to be.
too. I think so too. But it took me 6 years to get there, right? Like I literally got over 250 rejections before I wrote Monarch.
What?
Yeah, yeah. I wrote my first book that I ever wrote, it was like a vampire kind of thing.
Huh?
It was a Stephanie Meyer kind of track, but it was completely different. But still I was in that space. And so that almost got representation, and I was such a dumb writer at the time. The agent, it was at the Sandra Dijeska of the agency.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Okay.
agent there, she was really cool. She said, hey, Harper, can you just take them out of school and put them in college? And I was like, I'm not changing my book. It was like that thinking, like I didn't,
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s. I didn't know that meant that she wanted to work with me, and like revision was a part of the process. I just thought, I'm not changing my book. But now I think things now, as I've gotten older and I'm with the agent I'm with now, everything happens for a reason. So
Always. It was a
it
learning experience.
was a
You,
very much so a learning experience. And
right?
so,
We need to go through that
mm,
to get to where we're at.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't even
And
think, yeah, you even saying that you were a dumb writer, you're not. Like, I feel
no,
like
there's
everything
no way.
happens the way it's supposed to. Like,
Mhm.
you're a writer, period. Like, how many
Mhm.
people can do what you did and have that grit and determination to work through it? And
Mhm.
granted, you were a little hard-headed about switching up the story.
I
Look what
I
you
was.
did. 250 rejections. Like,
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah. I think that's
admirable.
part of it. It's a part of the process to get the rejections, and the rejections make when you do get the book sold, the reader rejections and the comments that you get, that makes it prepares you for all of those things. So I think I know constructive criticism is good, and even the negative things that people may find negative, even the agent's remarks that didn't want to sign me, I took their advice and made the book stronger. So there's something in all. There's information in tragedies. So
Absolutely. So the notes were your strength.
yeah, yeah. I would say there's beauty in the tragedy. The tragedy of the
Absolutely.
no made my book a stronger yes. So
And all the sweeter. And all the sweeter. And through that whole process, what would you tell an aspiring writer that could be listening to this, or an author that's kind of stuck and hit a wall,
Mhm.
what would be your advice to them from what you've experienced?
I think the biggest piece of advice that I received is from a writer who is no longer with us. It came at a time where I was like wanting to give up with writing, with actually, it was pretty much before I wrote Monarch. And I listened to this interview with Anne Rice on writing, and she said, she has a lot of friends who are great writers, who are even better writers than her, and they're not discovered. The only difference between her and them is that they gave up. And I was like, oh, okay, let me keep going. And so just to keep going, to keep writing. Don't let the no stop you. Don't let the trend of the market keep you from writing what you need to write.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And your book, the writing almost reminded me of Octavia Butler and her sci-fi and the very, very dystopian, that she's had in her books. And so have you read her books?
I've read Parable of the Sword. That's about the only one that I've read.
Okay.
But honestly, I did not read that book until after Monarch. So it was about maybe 2 years. I heard of her, but I didn't want to, at the time when I heard of her right before I started, way before, of course, but I didn't read her work at all or until after Monarch. I didn't even read 1984 until after Monarch. So that it was a whole just finding more stuff to read with dystopia. So
yes. So did you see the similarities between the writing and
I saw it. Yeah, and I even had agents when I was submitting Monarch for representation tell me that it reminded them of Octavia Butler.
So you need to be very proud of yourself, because her books like laid you out. You read that and you're like, what the hell did I just read?
Yeah. So while I knew it was a compliment they were giving me, I just didn't know how much of a compliment it was because I hadn't read her work. And then when I read, I was like, oh, wow, really? So it's like one of those things you're kind of just sitting in. I think as writers, we don't realize the talent. And even as I know that I think Monarch's a pretty good book, I also am constantly deconstructing it and figuring out ways I could have done better. So I think it's never good enough. I think that's
that's the criticism we give ourselves, right? Not good enough.
Never good
and
enough.
So I have two quick things I want to say. So one's a comment and one's a question. My first comment is, I want to tell you how much we loved and appreciated that you took the time to dedicate the book to us.
Sign it.
Yes. Well, yes.
I wish you dedicated.
I looked at it as a dedication because of all the authors we interview, and we've interviewed so many. I can tell you only maybe a quarter of them, not even, maybe an eighth of them, have taken the time to do what you did. And we love it. The minute that we open a book, we contact each other. So if it's just a book, it is what it is. But the minute that you put something, I don't care if it's a little heart, you put something, we're like, oh my God, that was so sweet. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Personal. It feels more personal.
I wanted it to feel like that. I know when I buy books of authors, even I'm in a bookstore and I know it's not possible, I'm like, I wish I had that autograph. And so I think anytime if I'm sending someone something personal, even with all my book tours I usually try to sign them because that's the least I can do. If you're gonna read my work, I can sign your books.
So I appreciate that. Thank you. We really love that. And then the question I had was, how did the process of writing look for you? Were you up at 5 a.m. and you wrote until 7 a.m., disciplined every single day? Or did you just take time off to just sit there and write all day long? Or did you go to the book and then, you didn't write for like a month and then you came back? Or how did that process look for you? Because I know you wrote it in 3 months, you said, which is insane and amazing.
Yeah, it was around the clock. That 3 months was around the clock. So literally, I would get up in the morning around 4 or 5 o'clock. I would just write until then I would stop, get something to eat, and then write more, take a break. And then I was also working full-time too. So I was working 2 full-time jobs and writing a full-time job at the time when I wrote Monarch in 3 months. But it was like around the clock, really around the clock. I couldn't stop writing. I think that's what happens when you find a book, that you're an idea and you know how it all syncs up. And the characters stay in your head and you literally can't stop writing until everything It's on the
It's on
page.
paper.
Mhm.
Wow. And what was your space like? Were you like in a small, quiet space where these are all the
Um,
things that writers always want to know. How was your
well, there's a
space?
scene, I won't say give it away, but there's a couple scenes in Monarch where literally I was living in an apartment. I was living in my apartment and the lights were off for like a week because of a storm. So I was writing,
Oh no.
literally was writing in the dark, the whole
Candlelight.
by candlelight the whole time. Especially I could even say when I wrote the prologue, I wrote that in like 20 minutes. That prologue, the way you see it in there, is there were no edits to it. It was literally the way
What?
yeah, there's maybe like
Damn.
sentence or something, but it's literally the way that
That
you
it
know.
just came out the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I wrote that in a dark room. Sometimes I would go into a dark closet. I wrote a lot of those scenes at Bonaventure Graveyard in Savannah, Georgia. I just sit in the graveyard and just write. Um,
So interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow. That's
So,
quite
yeah.
a story. I mean, like you should lead with
Just
that.
that alone is huge.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
put it on my bio that I love cemeteries and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I saw that. And I was like, oh,
mhm,
that's interesting.
mhm,
You know, I have to ask,
mhm.
who's your favorite character in this book?
Ooh,
Or
that is,
characters?
I like Eleanor. She's very complex, and I like the evolution of her character. And not that I won't give it away, but it's more so just the fact that you get to really see why we do or people do the things that they do.
Hmm.
And I like the transition of seeing characters go from, even if there isn't that much change, but going from I don't like this character to, oh, maybe I understand why they are the way they are. So
Hmm.
that part of figuring out characters and writing them is what I love best. And I think that my next favorite would probably be Cove. Cove, however you want to say it, I call him Cove in my head, but Cove. His change, and I know that his change is the most important to me because it I don't want to spoil the book, but it deals with a lot of my evolution of love and what it meant and what healing looks like, and finding people who see you when you feel undiscoverable.
That's beautiful.
Love that. That's
That's
so
beautiful.
beautiful. Beautiful. And what do you see for the future? So is there
Mm.
going to be a book 2? Is there going to be a different book that you're working on right now? Tell us more without giving anything away.
I can't, but I will tell you that. I can tell you that I am pretty much putting the finishing touches on another book. And it's
Oh,
not in the Monarch world, and I can't talk about the Monarch world, but this one isn't in the Monarch world, and I really love it. I enjoy it, and I think while I love Monarch, it's my baby. I really like this one a lot.
really?
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
So
What
I hope
genre?
you keep us in mind.
Yeah.
I hope you keep us in mind with that one.
What
Sure.
genre is it? Is it
It's
like,
dystopian.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but it takes place many years after Monarch, and it's really I really wish I could have shot it for rooftop now, but it's really cool. I enjoy it, and I've had a few beta readers who are really close to me and don't say anything to me on read it, and they liked it too. So yeah, while Monarch is my baby, this one is like
Your second born.
it feels like my soul. So
Oh,
yeah, so it's cool. Monarch was my love letter to my love letter to love, and this next one is like my love letter to myself, sort of thing. So
oh,
That's
you're
beautiful.
incredible. You're
mm.
incredible.
You
So
really are.
as Mercy said, when that book comes out, you better reach out.
I will.
Yeah.
Because I
Better
need to
keep us
read
in mind.
it.
Sure, of
Absolutely.
course. Yeah.
Absolutely. So somebody comes to you from Hollywood today and tells
Mm.
you, we want to make it a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So your favorite character would be played
Mm-hmm.
by who?
Ooh, like Angelina Jolie could be like
I
That's
love her.
Priya's
I
crush.
love
she'd
her.
be an amazing. Oh, I got a crush on her too, but she could be an amazing Eleanor. To see her doing Eleanor and Cove, Joe. I don't know. Like there are a lot of African American and actresses who I think are just brilliant. So I can't really name one. And Cove, I had the guy from Archie. When Archie was in that movie. He had red hair. Appa. Did his name Appa or something like that?
I don't know.
In the movie or in the
The
show?
series, the TV show.
The CV, the yeah, Yeah, I saw that. That was
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but it's APA.
I know who you're talking about. I know who you're
So
talking about.
I thought, oh, he would be really cool for Cove. His hair
Yeah.
would be red. Yeah, so a lot of people put Joe was in my head. It was more so like Zoe Kravitz and like a mixture of her and some other people. So
I love Zoe.
You're speaking our language.
yeah.
I love it. Oh, this is fantastic. You amaze me.
Oh,
I
thanks.
was not expecting that you had so much depth in you. I knew the book did, but sometimes the book is like so deep and it just has so much content and passion. And then the writer is just like but you're like just
you're walking the walk and walking the
you're
talk.
as deep as your book.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we really appreciate you taking the time to share your process and your thoughts and everything that it took for you to bring this to us and through Scholastic, which is amazing. I mean, I think everybody kind of grew up reading Scholastic books. So
I remember when I was the purchasing editor wrote this beautiful letter about like how much she loved Monarch. And I remember when I got on the phone with her, the first call, I was like, are you crazy? Like, this doesn't look like anything Scholastic would publish, because I know how dark it is.
Yeah.
And she said that, she likes a variety of things and that she needed the book on her catalog. So
love it.
Readers have evolved. Kids are not who they were.
They're not.
Right? We're evolving.
YA is completely different nowadays.
It is. It very much is.
It's a good thing. Which is a good thing. You want the readers to have every single book out there, every opportunity, any experience that they can get is just going to make them stronger.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
All right. So how can our listeners and readers and viewers, because we're on YouTube, so find you and find your book?
You can find the book anywhere books are sold, online, Amazon, Scholastic website, and it's available on Audible too, read by Bonnie Turpin and Pete Cross, amazing Audible readers. And my website is harperwrites.com, and I'm on Instagram at Harper Glenn Writer.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Okay, love to thank you for being our guest today.
Of course.
All these windows. Thank you for being our guest today. You were amazing.
For our love.
This book is amazing, guys. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you check out their link and website, everywhere you can order it. And like, share, follow, subscribe. Thank you, Harper.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great one. Appreciate your time.
Of course.
Thank you.